Welcome to the 122nd episode of the Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast.
So darn paranormal.
My name is Jason Knight, host of the show, and with me, as always, is
Oscar Spector,
producer extraordinaire and podcast co-host.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Oscar, we're coming off of the coincidence episode.
Yeah, that's right. We are one episode removed from the coincidence.
That's right. And tonight I have a real sick son of a bitch that we're going to be talking about. It's a doozy. He's wow. He was an active guy.
Why are you going after his mom like that? Son of a bitch.
Oh, I see what you did there.
See?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He was active, very, very active. So I wanted to cover this person for a while and finally
go big or go home, right?
Go big or go, yeah, exactly.
Obviously, I should not be glib about it, but glibness is my forte. So
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, a little bit of my forte. So yeah, okay.
So I'm looking forward
I can't wait to find out about him. I don't know anything.
Yeah, okay. And I thought I knew about him, but I realized after doing all this research that I didn't really know that much about him, So
as it is with most things researched, like you think and then you actually go into it like, oh shit, there's a lot more I didn't know, really. And I think most cases when it comes to things like that are relatable. It's like a relatable feeling.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's your life, man?
It's really, really busy, but good.
You mean work-wise or life-wise?
Both.
Okay.
Both. These last 2 weeks were really, really challenging. I was worried I wasn't going to get this one put together.
You often worry that, and I'm not worried. I knew you had it. I knew you had it because you would kind of been planning this one a little longer, and you had more time to prepare and stuff like that. And well, there was another thing I was going to say. I've been meaning to ask you, and I keep forgetting to ask, but now I reminded myself. How's the remodeling? You know what I'm talking about? Did you bring that up before on the show? If not, you don't have to talk about it. I don't know if you did, or if it was just me personally, or if it was on the show at all.
I don't remember if we talked about it on the show.
And I don't know how much of a big deal, if it is anything to you to mention now, if you haven't.
The remodeling. What am I missing? I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
You know, a certain bedroom?
Oh, redoing my daughter's room?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but we did. She's growing up and she's out of the pink frilly things, and she wanted
Where is it now? Green and black?
No. It's she just wanted to get rid of all the childish stuff, and she went more like just plain old adult themed. Kind of.
Okay. I mean, adult in comparison, or like actually adult. Like if you go in there, you think an adult sleeps there. I
would probably say so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She went with like a real light greenish blue for her walls. We got sort of this old antique dresser, and we refinished it for her, and put custom handles on it for her, and it just looks like an adult room. It doesn't look like a kid's room anymore.
What about like poster, new art in the walls, anything like that?
Yeah, new art, but it's positive vibe art, she calls it.
The things you see in offices?
No, not like to hang in there with the kitten hanging from a rope, but no, just like they're hard to. It's like mandalas. Listeners out there know what a mandala is really intricate sort of designs, mostly circular sort of designs. Mandala.
Okay.
Got a couple pictures of mandalas up there in kind of watercolors and in frames, and she's got this huge mandala. I'll just call it a sheet, but it's not a sheet. It's
like a tapestry
material. Yeah. Tapestry. Exactly.
Okay.
Going on one wall there, and it just looks like an adult's room or someone late teenager's room, something like that. That's what she wanted.
It sounds more adult than mine, because I have like movie posters, and like I still have like anime posters, which is basically cartoons.
Yeah, no, hers isn't.
That I want to put up, like that's funny.
Yeah, and we ran LED lights around her.
That's cool. I've always been wanting to do that in her room.
Yeah, where the wall meets the ceiling, and it's remote controlled, so she could have like any color under the sun, kind of glowing in her room. So
See,
it's
yeah,
cool.
that's cool. I would like to do that. Even maybe this office, or maybe the bedroom. It's either one or the other, I think. Yeah, I would like to do that too. I've been looking at price. I mean, it's just I can't justify spending it because I don't need it. But
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's cool that she's got it. Now I'm jealous.
Yeah, it does. It looks her room did come out really nice, and she had a canopy bed before that was kind of like this,
right, like a mosquito net looking thing
with like a black net going over it. You know, she's like, I don't want that anymore, so we got her just like a regular adult kind of bed.
It's like if the bed frame is going to a funeral, and that's like the veil, right? The widow veil.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it, right.
Yeah, she didn't want that, so we got her a nice adult kind of bed, and it looked really nice, and that took up a lot of time. So
that's cool.
So it's looking good.
That's hella cool.
My little baby's grown up, and I've been teaching. Matter of fact, we were out there today. I've been teaching my son to ride his bike, and today he took off his shirt. He loves being shirtless. He likes being pantless too. But we were out there in this big parking lot in our neighborhood, and he took off his shirt. He gets on his bike and he yells, "No fear!" And he just puts his feet on the pedals, man, and boom, he was gone. And he just went far, like just super far. And
so the no fear, did it kind of sound like, this is Sparta, like that kind of outcry?
Kind of, yeah.
Battle cry kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. Actually, yeah. And it gave him that oomph he needed to really get the bike going. And that was it. Now you can't stop him.
I mean, a lot of people need a bump of cocaine, but he just needs a couple, like 2 words. That's good.
Yes.
That's good, Jay,
yes. It's like the key up when you're in like martial arts.
Wow. Yeah. For me, it's saying a certain actor's name that gets me going.
Who is it?
You know which one it is, right? It's his last name is Phoenix. His first name is what?
River?
No, Joaquin.
Oh, Joaquin. That's right.
That's right.
Like you're whipping out a scabbard. Joaquin.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
River?
River Phoenix. I said last name. No, that's his last name, I guess, too.
Oh, that's funny.
Joaquin. Yeah.
That's right. So that's what we've been up to. And then work all the time. But
me too. I'll segue to myself here by saying that work. I've been working more lately for the money. That's what I need, money. So
for the monies.
For the money, yeah. I've been highly considering robbing a bank.
Oh, probably shouldn't talk about that here. I don't know.
It's okay. No one's gonna do anything. And everyone says shit. So I mean, that's all. Just to cut the middleman out of working so much, right, or needing to work so much.
It would be nice.
But besides that, let's see. This is the first time I'm mentioning it, right, on the show, right? You know what I'm going to mention.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right. So Lexi and I mean, really through the power of Lexi, because she feels like she can't live without something like this. And this, we got my first pet ever.
Like ever. Yeah.
Ever. I mean, for a month, I had a tarantula. But that was a long time ago, and it was on a lark, on a whim kind of thing. I didn't keep it for very long. I don't even think it was a whole month, honestly. It was like a few weeks. And then I gave it back or something. I don't remember. Maybe I sold it. It's so long ago, and I just thought it was cool. But I definitely didn't super care,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count it, So, yeah, this is my first pet. And I never grew up with a pet, as my parents are not animal people, especially my mom. So it just happened to be that way until now. Yeah, we moved out, right? So I can get one now. And Lexi is all about the pet life, right? She grew up with them. She had one. She left a pet behind at her mom's house when she
that cat, right?
Yeah, a black cat. I'm definitely allergic to it. And this particular black cat is very naughty in general, and like fucking does what it wants, much like most cats, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I would never be able to stand that kind of thing in this new apartment. So. But we got ourselves a smaller pet. Our origins are from Australia. It's a sugar glider. So
a sugar glider. They're so cute.
Yes, they are very. We went for clearly aesthetic, cute, and cuddly reasons. It's a very cuddler, that species of animals. They naturally go into little holes and little areas underneath blankets, underneath palms of hands, and in pouches. They constantly go in corners and cuddle, right? If you're there with you, if not, they cuddle with whatever's there, a pillow, whatever, all the time. They're just very cuddly little creatures.
Yeah, I'm totally jealous.
You should be. I mean, no, you shouldn't be. You have like tons of pets there.
Well, we do. We have, but nothing that cuddly.
You know, Matt Damon's. We bought a zoo. You're on your way. You're on your way. You have a bunny? Well, you had a bunny, not anymore.
Yeah, we got rid of it.
And we have a cat. I love your cat.
Had a cat.
Yeah. You
two leopard geckos.
Geckos. You have geckos. Fish.
2 hamsters frogs, now.
Right? Frogs too?
A frog, a goldfish. Yeah.
There you go. See? Yeah. You're doing pretty well is my point. But yeah, you're right. I think my sugar glider outclasses them in cuddliness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's right now, it's been 24 hours since we got it. So it's very fresh. As a matter of fact, no one can see this, but Lexi is setting up this tent we bought, this see-through Teflon-looking tent.
I saw. So it's going to go in there?
Yeah. So, and then she's going to go in there with it. Obviously, zipper it up so she won't escape. Her name is Lilith, by the way. And,
Lilith, I like that.
And she's going to go in there with her and just have her like enjoy the space, jump around. It'll jump everywhere. It glides. It's a sugar glider. So it has these like flaps that kind of glides through the air. So it'll do that with Lexi in the middle there. So she's going to be in the background bonding with it, trying to bond with it.
That's awesome. Well, that's definitely news. That's super cool, man.
Yeah, that's very cool. And it does take, it can take a while, up to at least a couple of weeks, maybe longer to bond, with new people and stuff. So hopefully next time I'll have some good progress to report regarding the sugar glider. But right now, Lexi is hella devoted.
Nice.
Hella devoted. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think you guys will be good sugar glider parents.
Right. She's been calling us parents, like new parents, and that's our baby and things like that, Nature, that language a lot. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see it.
And it's nocturnal, you said, so it's perfect for you guys. You guys are night owls.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, it's nocturnal, right? It's sensitive to light, so we have to keep lights dimmed or off in general just to make it more comfortable for her or just, because she'll just hide, her eyes are just too sensitive. So she's very nocturnal and perfect for us, like you said. When we sleep around the time that she would go to sleep too, right? So it's great. Awesome. It's a perfect pet for us, really. Perfect pet.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exciting. That is definitely news.
Thank you. It is news. Well, and nothing really else. I mean, there's other stuff I could say, but that's like the highlight. And anything that comes after that highlight is going to look shit in comparison. So
fair enough.
So I say, why don't you do that spiel thing that you do so I can make fun of the phone number?
The spiel, yes. If you'd like to contact the Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast, the easiest way to do so is by visiting our website, chicagoghostpodcast.com.
.org. No, it's .org.
From chicagoghostpodcast.com, you can get to all of our social sites, including Facebook, Instagram, YouTube,
Facegram, Instagram,
Twitter, and of course, Patreon, right?
Is that the whiskey? No, that's Patron. That's something else. That's tequila.
Oh, I like the way you say that.
Patron?
Yes.
That's how you say it.
There it is. So if you go to our website and you click the Patron icon, it'll take you right to our Patreon page. And for just $5 a month, listeners, you could get yourselves Patreon-only podcast episodes, video casts. We put other little surprise bonus episodes up there every once in a while.
Our junk. We put our junk on there.
A junk? Like junk as in private areas?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's our OnlyFriends.
Right. Oh, I just heard about that the other day for the first time. When we talked about Belle Delphine last time, that was the first time I heard about, what's it called? OnlyFriends?
OnlyFriends, yeah.
Yeah. I never heard
OnlyFans.
That before.
Is it OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. You're right. That's right.
Yeah, OnlyFans. That's it. Sorry.
I never heard of that thing at all. And everyone talks about it so casually now. It's like again, when you first hear something and then you hear it every time, like everywhere. Yeah. Now I'm hearing it everywhere, casually mentioned. And I still haven't ever been to that website or anything. Yeah. But I'm curious.
Well, we don't have an OnlyFans. Maybe we should get an OnlyFans, but we do have the Patreon. And again, for just $5 a month, you get yourself access to tons of Patreon-only content that's up there right now. Of course, we have other levels of sponsorship as well. So jump over to patreon.com/Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast. Pledge your support for the show. help
I
support
think you
your
can
favorite
hop there
podcast.
too. You don't have to jump to it. You can lightly hop to it.
You'd sort of slither or saunter.
Right. You don't have to really release that much energy in order to visit our website.
Yeah.
Which is .org, by the way, not
.info. .tv.
I've never been to a .info, I don't think.
Do they still have info in TV?
I don't know.
It's like saying, here's my AOL email address. Fuck,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Another way to reach the Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast is by giving us a call or sending us a text. That's Chicago area code 872-529-0767. That's 872-529-0767. I'm waiting.
Are you waiting for me to interrupt you? I've never.
I keep looking at your face, like waiting to see you take a breath, so I know you're coming.
I know.
So I can stop.
I think you've placed some sort of like, I don't know where this is coming from really, because I've never made fun of you for this phone number, but it seems like you're expecting me to react to you saying this phone number. Which, by the way, if you put it in the keypad and the alphabet, it spells Satanas, which is Satan in Spanish, and I think Latin too.
There you go. Call the number, dial up the devil. It's all good.
Right. I want to hear if there are other Sugar Glider owners out there. That'd be nice to get a voicemail from them.
Oh,
that'd be kind of cool. Assuming the number is correct and it's not Chicago area code. It's like, I don't know, like Boise or something. It's fucking some boring ass fucking town that no one likes. Sorry from people from Boise.
Throwing a lot of shade at Boise tonight. All right.
Every number you say. Whoa.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Hey, any other Sugar Glider owners that are out there, send us a voicemail or shoot us an email. Email's contact@chicagoghostpodcast.com. And I think that's it.
Yeah, right. I think I can't think of anything. Did you give no, we don't have a P.O. box. We still don't have a P.O. box.
No,
not yet. Well, with the mail, right, situation problems these days, I don't know.
Not going to get into that. Yeah, I think we're good.
I remember P.O. boxes were in every commercial as a kid. Remember that?
I used to want a P.O. box.
Right, when you were a kid, every like cereal commercial, every what's those gummy bears commercials, Gushers gummy bears, those little Gushers thing. Every time they would say like, "Oh, send this to P.O. box," like send in your tag from the box of cereal. They would constantly reference a P.O. box number. I'm like, what the fuck is that? As a kid, I didn't know.
Yeah, as a kid, I wanted one. I didn't know anybody, so no one would ever send anything to that P.O. box. But I did want one. I thought it would.
Nowadays, having a P.O. box is shady.
Yeah, it's like where you send
shady, or maybe like you're homeless, right? Like you don't have an address, maybe like you move around, maybe like travel for a living. Maybe those people, right? It's like those people are shady people. Yeah, nowadays, it's seen something rarer, like a safe deposit box or something, right?
Yeah. It's for people who want their anonymity.
Anonymity.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. I did it.
Yeah, you did it. Good job. Anyway, I think that's what. It's just so weird how the perception of that has changed from my childhood to now, and that could very well just be me. Maybe adults in the 90s saw P.O. boxes as shady also, but I just happened to be a kid, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know either. I think we're kind of rambling now.
Well, yeah, we're just talking.
Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's do it.
Listeners, welcome back to the show. Well, the lights are turned down low, the ceremonial candle is lit, and the drinks are flowing. Let's start this show. Oscar, could we start this episode with a nice clip that I found?
Nah.
Please?
Okay.
Ramirez entered the courtroom wearing sunglasses and shackles. He's accused of 43 crimes, including 13 murders and multiple counts of rape, robbery, sodomy, and oral copulation. Outside the courtroom, metal detectors were used to beef up security. Dozens of spectators crowded the hallway, hoping to get a glimpse of the accused serial killer. Ramirez was captured nearly 3.5 years ago by an angry group of citizens in East L.A. He was caught trying to steal someone's car. Police say he had terrorized much of greater Los Angeles by entering homes through unlocked doors or windows. Authorities say he raped, robbed, and killed many of his victims. Most were in the San Gabriel Valley. Following his capture, reports surfaced tying Ramirez to Satanism. He once flashed a pentagram drawn on his hand, and in an earlier court appearance, he shouted, "Hail Satan."
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. I like the way you could hear Richard Ramirez's voice at the very end right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a quote that I wanted to start the show with kind of give you an idea the type of person we're dealing with here, okay? Quote, "I love to kill people. I love to watch them die. I would shoot them in the head and they would wiggle and squirm all over the place and then just stop. Or I would cut them with a knife and watch their faces turn real white. I love all that blood," end quote. It's a quote by Richard Ramirez.
I mean, he seems like he found his passion.
He really did. He went with it with gusto. He did.
I mean, in this day and age, how can you not at least, see that for what that is, right? That guy found what he loved. That thing you say, like, find what you love in this world and then do that forever. That's what he tried.
If you love it, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. If you love your job, it's never right. Exactly. I think this guy is one of those inspirational posters waiting to happen.
My daughter should put it in her new room.
Exactly.
I love all that blood. Okay. So, Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez, known as Richard Ramirez, who the media dubbed the Night Stalker. That's who gave us that lovely quote, that inspirational quote.
Yes.
Now, I want to stop right here, right in the beginning, and I want to clarify something. This episode is about Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, not Joseph James D'Angelo, the original Night Stalker. There's actually 2 Night Stalkers. I don't know if you knew that.
And I hope you explain how that happened.
I will, and it's confusing. So
it sounds like it would be confusing.
Yeah.
It sounds like a media-fueled confusion.
So hold on to your lap bars because this gets a little nuts.
What the fuck is a lap bar?
Like when you go on a roller coaster, you have that bar that comes across your lap.
Thank you.
You're
welcome. You said lap. I thought you said lat.
Like no, lap.
Like you're working your lats.
I was trying not to pop my peas in the mic. I'm always very self-conscious about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you are. So I guess I should have thought of that.
No, dude, it's cool.
But peas sound kind of fun when you. It sounds kind of like fun to hear when I listen to a podcast and I just hear like a very pronounced, like pass me that can of pop.
Listeners on the other end are like shaking their heads because
oh yeah, no, they hate it. I'm so sorry. But I like it when I hear it.
So you see, Joseph D'Angelo and Richard Ramirez were operating in California around the same time. D'Angelo raped and killed between 1976 and 1986, and Ramirez was doing his thing in 1984 and 1985. So there was overlap, and they sort of shared similar MOs as well. When D'Angelo began his criminal career, he started with breaking and entering, going into people's homes, stealing stuff, and ransacking women's underwear drawers. This D'Angelo was known as the Visalia Ransacker, named after the area in Northern California where he started. D'Angelo then graduated from breaking and entering and tearing through women's underwear drawers to breaking and entering and violent rape. Mm-hmm. This D'Angelo was known as the East Area Rapist. And when he added murder to his bag of tricks, D'Angelo became known as the Night Stalker. Now, it wasn't until 2001 that detectives finally figured out that the Night Stalker and the East Area Rapist / the Visalia Ransacker were all the same person, Joseph D'Angelo.
Which is nuts to think about.
Yes. And that was, they finally figured that out in 2001, and that's long after Richard Ramirez was labeled the Night Stalker and already convicted and behind bars. So in order not to confuse the two killers, the word original was slapped onto D'Angelo's Night Stalker moniker to differentiate the two. Does that make sense?
No. I mean, so you're saying that D'Angelo was first named the Night Stalker, or he wasn't?
He was.
Okay.
He was.
So,
but by the time they figured out who the Night Stalker was, that he was the Visalia ransack.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that when they caught Ramirez, they thought that he was responsible for D'Angelo's crimes as well? Is that what you're saying?
No. The media had labeled Richard Ramirez the Night Stalker.
Got it. Okay.
He was already convicted. It's like he was already in history as the Night Stalker because he was caught, convicted, and in jail. D'Angelo's Night Stalker was still unknown.
All right.
When Richard Ramirez was slapped behind bars. But
and then wasn't he also called the Golden State Killer? Or is that a...
Yes. D'Angelo.
D'Angelo.
Yes. So that's how we get the two Night Stalkers. They were both operating around the same time. They both had the same MOs. Cops weren't sure who the hell was doing what. Ramirez was nicknamed Night Stalker. He was caught, convicted, put in jail. Many, many, many years later, in 2001, they finally figured out, D'Angelo was this other Night Stalker guy, as well as the ransacker and the East Area rapist. Let's call him the original, because he started first.
Yeah, better the original than putting like, let's add a K to that night, because it's so confusing.
Right, yeah. Like my name, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, like your name, exactly.
So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so D'Angelo, he's a whole nother heaping, steamy pile of fuckery. If you want to know more about him, and I highly suggest you watch the Netflix docuseries called I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
It's HBO.
Was it HBO?
It is.
Shit. Should we edit that out?
No.
Mistake.
Now it's corrected. Now people will remember it more because of the correction. That's how people
That's right. It was HBO Max.
Yeah, any HBO version of it.
Yeah. I saw it on Max. Got it.
Yeah, I did too. It's very, very watchable docuseries. Very good.
Yeah, and it's all about the comedian Pat Oswalt, his wife Michelle McNamara, and her just unyielding obsession with catching the East Area rapist, the Night Stalker,
and
the
starting
Night Stalker,
and very much similarly like we are, where like she's just a self-made PI, like she just investigated on her own time, internet basically, and then calling people up and things like that. Now she went many versions of extra miles than we've done. Yeah. But and she wrote a book on it. The book on it actually made the article that opened up the can of worms for people to start investigating this guy again. Yeah.
And her research and that tireless effort she put in wound up. This guy got caught.
Yes,
he wound up getting caught in 2018. He was just convicted to life. I don't know, last month, I think.
Very recently.
Yeah. In June or July, the latest. Right?
Yeah, it's insane. Really, it's funny.
Yeah, and I thought about, should we cover D'Angelo? Because it is so fresh. I just don't think I have it in me to cover him. There is so... Just watch I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and that'll show you the type of research you need to do.
I think this is one of those rare occasions where it might be better to defer to a better source, which is
absolutely
the case, because it's video and audio, so it's a show, and it's very well done that we both recommend, and we both vouch its authenticity as to the information overall, anyway.
Yeah.
And to say that this girl McNamara did all the fucking work we could ever do. She did it all, and it's on the show. So I suggest watch that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want the full story.
Yep. I couldn't do it justice. I don't know about you.
That's what I thought. When I was watching, I'm like, we can never do this guy.
Yeah.
As I was watching it, even the first episode, I was like thinking, like, no way we can do this guy. We'll be a second fiddle to the show.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that. I thought the exact same thing. I would love to. I can't.
Right.
So I hope that cleared up Night Stalker versus original Night Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
You think?
I think so. I mean, I'm clear.
Okay, good. So anyway, getting back to the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. Now, Ramirez was a first-generation Mexican-American born in El Paso, Texas on February 29th, 1960, to Julian and Mercedes Ramirez. Now, in Mexico, Julian Ramirez, Richard's father, was a police officer in Juarez, and he became a laborer on the Santa Fe Railroad when he came to the U.S. after being deported from Mexico by border security in 1952. You see, when Julian and Mercedes were married, Julian had not yet attained U.S. citizenship. So Julian lived in Juarez while Mercedes lived in El Paso. And in El Paso, that's where their 5 children were born. Ruben.
And for those who are wondering, they're literally next to each other.
Yeah, El Paso is a border
those two
town.
Cities, yeah, and Juarez also. It's just basically one giant city separated by a border in a country.
Yeah,
but they're so
it's a
next
good
to each
point.
other. You can walk it. You can almost walk it. Not really, but you can almost.
Yeah. So Julian lived over in Juarez, being a cop. Mercedes lived in El Paso, and in El Paso is where they had their children, and there were 5 of them: Ruben, Joseph, Robert, Ruth, and Richard Ramirez. Richard was actually the youngest of the 5. Now, I guess Mexico didn't like all the back and forth Julian was doing between the 2 countries, so they deported him. And honestly, I've never heard of that happening before, but that's the story. That's what happened with Ramirez's parents. Okay,
that's very interesting you say that, because I knew a lot of people, some family members included, where they would often commute daily to work between the countries.
Countries
every day.
Wow.
They would go from Juarez. I have family in Juarez, or at least I don't know if they're still there. I think so. And they would commute every morning. They would go to work in El Paso or wherever, and then come back, after 5 or whatever, 6, and cross the border home.
That's crazy.
All the time.
I got screwed up with different time zones when I traveled, for work. I can't even imagine different countries.
Yeah, well, the time zone's the same, thank God. But yes, overall, yeah. That's weird. That's very weird. That must have been a different time, different thing in general.
I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, Julian and Mercedes, they worked hard to support their large family. However, like a lot of immigrant fathers, Julian was really strict, bordering on abusive, according to some reports.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Richard's mother, Mercedes, she was a Mexican-American citizen from Colorado. And while she was pregnant with Richard, she worked in a boot factory. And more on the boot factory here in a minute, because it may be important. And from what I've read, Ramirez lived a decent, although lower-class life in El Paso. And Richard Ramirez, by all accounts, enjoyed a fairly normal early life. Now, I did find 2 stories that said at age 2, a dresser fell on Richard and he suffered a concussion. And at age 5, he was knocked unconscious by a park swing, like the swing hit him in his dome.
Oh, wow.
And by now, listeners of this podcast know, early childhood trauma, what that could lead to, right?
Yeah, that's why you're mentioning it. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But by other counts, totally normal sort of growing up. People who knew Richard Ramirez, the child, described him as an ordinary kid. They used words like nice, funny, kind, and caring to describe that child. And again, there was absolutely no indication in the first 10 years of his life that this normal kid from El Paso would grow up to become the rapist, serial killing mutilator known as the Night Stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I read something and I thought it was curious, but I'm not exactly sure what it means. So I want to see what you think, Oscar. In the mid-1940s into the 50s, nuclear bombs were being tested over in New Mexico. And we talked about this a bit in our extraterrestrial extravaganza podcast episodes. You remember?
Yes.
Now, as it happens, a lot of the fallout from those tests traveled by wind and found its way into El Paso, settling on the landscape, in water, and on animals, thus affecting milk, meat, and drinking water. All of the Ramirez children were born with problems ranging from respiratory difficulty to Collier's disease. It's a disease, a curving of the bones in the body. And in fact, Richard Ramirez himself was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, which would cause him seizures. And side effects of temporal lobe epilepsy, besides seizures, can include paranoia, hyperaggressive behavior, loss of control, and loss of judgment. Now, another odd thing is that while Mercedes Ramirez, remember his mother, While she was pregnant with Richard, she was working in a boot factory, and her job was mixing chemicals and pigments to use on the boots to color the boots. Now, the chemicals she was working with included benzene, xylene, and toluene, chemicals that today are known to be highly toxic. Benzene is known to cause cancer, and breathing in xylene and toluene can cause headaches, sleepiness, irregular heartbeat, and even death. So I don't know, did environmental factors like nuclear fallout and exposure to toxic chemicals in the womb help to create the Night Stalker? What do you guys think? Oscar, what do you think? I was curious what you would say.
I think that's a possibility. You know, it's you think of there's a positive example of this where it isn't like a Richard Ramirez type. You think of Vincent van Gogh, right? Like what was that thing that I read? I don't remember what science journal, if it was a science journal or historical thing. They did some reanalyzing maybe of Van Gogh's life and stuff, and came to the conclusion that he had a very specific disease attributed to, I think, an environmental cause or whatever at the time. That at the time they probably thought that he was just, I don't know if you know Van Gogh, but he was a very weird guy.
Yeah.
Very weird guy. I mean, he cut off his ear to,
that's a guy who, I was going to say, cut
apologize
off his ear
to a friend, right? And the way he painted is the way he saw, and that's part of one of the one of the side effects or something, one of the telltale signs of this specific disease that people say now that he definitely had, right? I don't remember the name, sorry. And that's why he painted the way he did, and that's why people were so fascinated by it. And because no one knew that it was this, disease. No one knew that he was looking at the world differently because of something else, not because he was necessarily special or more artistic. He was very artistic, but like his own unique viewpoint is what made him famous and stuff. So, and that was also, like I said, that's from a cause or series of causes that is now seen as the reason. So could it be for this case for Ramirez? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it
could totally be that way. Yeah,
yeah. I'm
probably for a lot of killers.
Some sort of environmental factor in the womb.
I mean, maybe for a lot more than we can. Maybe a lot more than we can either admit to, or too many that we can never prove them. Yeah. But in general, there's so many things. We still get we're reaping all the disbenefits, all the unfortunate incidences of creating and blowing up all that stuff in the desert. I mean, California is on the edge of a desert, guys. It's on the desert. It's desert. And it's, the winds can go, of course they can reach that far. And, and we talk a lot about California as being a hotbed for serial killers and a lot of that kind of activity. And obviously it's nowhere near like a high percentage of people doing that, but it's, if it's 0.5%, that counts for all the ones we've talked about so far and more.
Yeah.
Of the population being like that, a little more fucked up than your regular guy,
Yeah. So maybe something in the environment is causing that. And that's a great point, how many serial killers come out of California. And I absolutely, I think the wind could take it from New Mexico to California. The fallout. I mean, absolutely. I
mean, when I saw that Chernobyl show, they talked about how in Germany they were getting some of the wind fallback thing. Some people were getting sick from what happened in Chernobyl, which is essentially Russia, but not anymore Russia, but it was at the time.
Right.
And that's very far away. That's thousands of miles away, and it was getting it to them over there. So is it possible that nuclear explosion test stuff could make it to a couple states over? I think so.
Oh, hell yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Whether it's the nuclear
thing,
fallout.
That thing with the mom and the you said the boot. These boots are made for walking factory. Yeah,
did you just bust out some Nancy Sinatra?
I did.
I love it. I love that song.
Who doesn't? It's a great song. I think that maybe it feels like that one specifically, her factory stuff, might have really attributed, especially if she brought over merchandise, freshly made, so to speak, over to the house. But it seems like that's something that will probably affect her personally more than Ramirez. But if she was pregnant, of course.
And she was.
Right.
She was pregnant with him at the time.
Right. That's where you see something.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting.
Might as well just drink strychnine, right?
It's pretty much what she was doing. Breathing that in for however many hours a day, that we now know is poisonous to the human body. Who knows what that could do to an unborn child,
Yeah.
Not saying that Richard isn't responsible for what he ultimately did, because he is, but was he helped along the way? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, answer. I think people, I don't think there's anything wrong with finding out the whys of who chooses to do these things and why they chose to do it and what environmental factors relate to what. I'm not saying we should necessarily find the remains of that boot company and charge them for the same crimes they charged Ramirez for.
Yeah.
They definitely should be held accountable in general for that poisonous stuff, but not for the murders, necessarily. I still blame Ramirez, of course.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
But, this thing probably didn't help.
There you go. And that's where we'll leave it. This stuff didn't help.
Yes.
Okay,
doesn't make you sane.
Doesn't make you sane, right? Now, but by the time Richard Ramirez turned 10 years old, he started becoming withdrawn. And that's when his temporal lobe epilepsy and his seizures really kicked in. Okay. As a teenager in high school, Ramirez grew distant from his father and from his friends. And he began hanging out with older, kind of rougher kids. He got into hard rock music and he developed an interest in Satanism. And it's during this kind of turbulent time in his life that Richard Ramirez grew close to his older cousin, Miguel Ramirez. This is really important. Now, Miguel Ramirez was a whacked-out U.S. Army Green Beret combat veteran from the Vietnam War. And for a time, Richard Ramirez and Miguel, the cousin, were thick as thieves. Richard really looked up to him, kind of like a father figure. The two would get high.
So more father than big brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Older cousins. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, kind of this father figure. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. That's the vibe I got for sure.
Okay.
They would hang out together constantly. They'd get high together. And impressionable Richard Ramirez would listen in awe as Miguel told him stories about atrocities he committed during the war. Miguel showed Richard graphic pictures of him raping and brutalizing Vietnamese women, including a photo of a woman's severed head in which Miguel's penis was shoved into its mouth. A real piece of work, this fucking guy. Now, Richard didn't recoil from these horrible stories or these graphic photos. Instead, he was fascinated by them, kind of like a, wow, look at what you've done sort of thing. Now, keep in mind, Richard is being fed these horrible stories and images by a man he trusts, a family member, while he's at a stage in his life when he's developing sexually. So in a very real way, Richard is mentally fusing sex with violence, and he liked it. He was ashamed of his feelings, but he liked it nonetheless. Miguel also taught his... Oh, go ahead.
No, that's really fucked up. I mean, you hear those stories coming out of Vietnam, right? You
do.
You see that even in fiction. You think of Platoon, right?
Yeah.
Right. They do stuff like that. Or Born on the 4th of July. They talk about that a lot. Really fucked up things that we did. I mean, a lot of wars do this. And Vietnam was no different and was a little more special in the brutality aspects, actually. But, man, to think of, like, what a direct link to, like, the oncoming onslaught, right? That's going to happen.
Yes. That's why I said this is really important.
I wonder, do you think, I almost feel like this is another topic for another day regarding, like, the atrocities of war. Because, like, a soldier who kills 100 people, that's a serial killer.
Right. Exactly.
Mass murder if you do it in one day, right?
But because you're doing it for your government, doesn't count. Right? Yeah. That's a good topic. That's a good.
You know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm putting down now.
I do. Yes.
And that's I mean, I'm not going to open that can of worms necessarily, but I want you to look at the can of worms right now and just think about it, you know, because it clearly is a subject ripe for discussion.
It really is. That's a sensitive subject, but
yes,
it is a good fucking topic. And matter of fact, we kind of touched on that a little. We didn't use soldiers, I don't think, as an example. And I don't remember what episode we talked about this in, but we were talking about mafia figures and outfit guys.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How we glorify someone like Sammy the Bull Gravano or
the Iceman guy.
Joe Pesci's character in Casino, Iceman, right? People see him as kind of these dapper, you know, from long ago, you know, that's the way it was done, you know, good stand-up guy. But really, at definition, they're fucking serial murderers, you know, down and dirty, low-life serial murderers.
They just did it for money and status as opposed to for the fun of it.
Right, for the sexual gratification of it. Right. Something like that. Exactly.
But, right. It seems like we're splitting hairs on what makes one person a serial killer and one person just a murderer. You know, we're splitting hairs on it because it kind of reminds, you know, to think of yet another analogy of the past, recent past, unfortunately, it's like the difference between crack cocaine and cocaine, right? The differences in the laws and the crimes of it and the people that it inherently targets more for criminal actions and stuff. It's like that. Like they're splitting hairs on something just to get a worse effect for what they want. So this hitman for the mob is suddenly not a serial killer?
That's right. That's right. It's crazy, isn't it?
And the glorification of us. We love those movies, Jay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that I would ever want to meet one or would ever actually respect a person, like if I were to meet one. But
a serial killer, I mean.
I won't. I mean, no, I'm talking about a mob hitman.
Okay.
But to say that I've never found entertainment, like now, that would be a lie if I said I never found it entertaining.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I love your topic idea. We should develop that. And possibly pull the trigger.
Find things for us to research.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Michael's influence continues. He taught Richard Ramirez, his younger cousin, how to shoot and how to wield a knife, you know, skills Miguel learned in Vietnam and skills that Ramirez used up until the day he was caught for being the Night Stalker, mind you.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Miguel's fucked up tutelage goes on. Richard Ramirez was present during a domestic dispute on May 4th, 1973, during which his beloved cousin Miguel shot his wife, Jessie, in the face with a .38 caliber revolver, killing her instantly. And this brutal event stuck with Ramirez, and apparently he was fascinated by the murder, just like he was the stories and the photos of rape and murder his cousin committed in Vietnam.
Yikes.
Now, eventually, Richard Ramirez dropped out of high school and began to live on the outskirts of El Paso society, oftentimes sleeping in a local cemetery called Concordia Cemetery, where it's said he also practiced satanic rituals. This is high school teenage bullshit, right?
Yeah, this happens.
He was doing it. Yeah, exactly. He started smoking weed heavily, and he became an expert thief, stealing anything and everything he could. People actually called him Ricky Dedos or Ricky Fingers and Ricky the Thief.
Right, yeah, like light fingers.
Ricky Lightfingers, yeah. For a time, Ramirez worked at a local Holiday Inn where he would use his pass key to enter people's hotel rooms and rob them while they slept. And he even tried to rape a woman, but her husband came back to the room and very promptly beat the living shit out of him.
Wow.
There was even a time when Ramirez tried living with his sister, Ruth, and her husband, but his brother-in-law was a chronic peeping Tom, and he would take teenage Ramirez along with him on his creepy nighttime voyeur trips.
So he's saying that Ruth, a different member of his family.
Correct, sister, yes.
Married some peeping Tom asshole.
Yes.
Ouch.
I know. And
Yikers alley, bro.
Yeah, and it's Yikers alley. I like that. But if you think about it, it's kind of sad, too. You know, the adult males in Ramirez's life, cousin Miguel, his brother-in-law, and his father to some extent, could have all chosen to be positive role models, but were instead either abusive or flat out horrible pieces of shit. And I think they helped fuel the monster Richard Ramirez would become and was becoming at that time. Giving positive...
They were creating their successor in a strange way.
Kinda.
Right? And when you think of the magnitude of ending lives, right, the way he did.
Yeah. It's kind of like these men are giving positive affirmation to the sex equals violence thing, you know?
Right. If their intention was to do what Richard Ramirez did, then they did such a good job that it looks like they did a terrible job.
Right. Now, at the age of 18, Richard Ramirez leaves El Paso and he moves to Los Angeles, California, where he would eventually launch his bloody nighttime rape and murder spree on residents in both the Los Angeles area and further up north in San Francisco. In other words, LA is where Richard Ramirez would become the Night Stalker. Now, while living in LA, Ramirez spent a lot of time drinking and drugging on Los Angeles's notorious Skid Row, an area of LA that has been the most concentrated area of poverty in the city since the late 19th century. Skid Row became particularly dangerous in the 70s and 80s when crack arrived on the scene and turned this already sketchy part of LA into something so dark and dangerous that no one of sane mind dared set foot there. Perfect for Richard Ramirez, in other words.
Right, yeah.
Now, in LA, Ramirez lived one of those day-to-day lives, living for the here and now, the immediate gratification, and not really caring about what tomorrow would bring. He was heavily into drugs at this point, namely marijuana, cocaine, and LSD. He was drinking heavily, banging prostitutes, stealing cars, and robbing homes in the suburbs of Los Angeles, really amping up that edge of society living he started over in El Paso. And so, for our September Patreon episode, we're going to cover a particular Skid Row hotel, an incredibly notorious Skid Row hotel, which has direct ties to Richard Ramirez and the Supernatural. So if you're not already a Patreon member, make sure and join so you don't miss out on the September episode, which in a way will be a continuation of this episode. And as always, there's a link in our show notes to our Patreon. So
for some reason, I thought you were going to say, as always, keep your head up.
Oh, remember I used to sign off with that?
For some reason, just then, I thought you were going to say that, even though it's been like a while since you have.
No, but I came up with September's idea for Patreon while assembling this show. I'm like, oh, that would be a great spin-off of the Richard Ramirez.
That's called multitasking, folks.
Yeah. Now, as a serial killer, Richard Ramirez was difficult for authorities to figure out. He would only hunt during the cover of night. He was pretty careful about leaving evidence behind. And when it came to killing, Ramirez didn't behave like a typical serial killer. He used all sorts of techniques to kill his victims. He used knives. I believed he used 2 separate handguns. He would beat some of his victims to death with blunt objects. Some victims were strangled to death. Some were bound before being killed, and some were not. Some victims were raped, and some were not. Some victims were mutilated, and some were not. At a few right?
Yeah.
At a few of the crime scenes, Ramirez left behind pentagrams drawn on walls or on the victims themselves. And his victims were both men and women and children. And I think especially weird is how Ramirez behaved towards his male victims versus his female victims. If males were present when Ramirez struck, he would kill them very quickly with a gunshot, acting more like a straight-up cold-blooded killer than a serial killer. With his female victims, however, Ramirez's inner serial killer would emerge, and his sadistic side would take over. The rape, the murder, the mutilation. For these reasons, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was incredibly difficult for authorities to pin down or profile. And in 1985, all of Southern California was terrified of the Night Stalker. Gun sales soared. People bought guard dogs. People barred their windows and doors, even though the summer of 85 was stifling hot in California, because anyone could be the Night Stalker's next victim. It reminds me a lot of the July 1977 Summer of Sam, David Berkowitz, over in New York. Just this flat-out panic among the citizens that they were next. No one was safe. Set to the backdrop of a sweltering summer heat wave.
Yeah, that was also reflected in the Spike Lee movie, Son of Sam.
Absolutely.
And it sounds also like The Town That Dreaded Sundown. You've seen that?
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's an old movie. It's a classic movie. A serial killer movie. I think it came out in the 80s. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And it's very similar, like The Town. I mean, it's a small town. It's not like a whole state or a whole big city like LA, but it feels the same. That's my point.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I don't know, see if you agree, but for me, it's that impossible summer heat that makes all of this even worse for some reason, whether it's Ramirez or whether it's Berkowitz over in New York. That hot, heavy air makes it hard to breathe. Even the wind is hot, right? The sweat, the smells, the fear, the panic. I'd even say the sound is affected by the heat. Did you ever notice that when it gets that hot here in Chicago, even the sounds seem muted, like the heat is choking the normal city sounds?
It definitely gives that effect, yeah.
Right? The traffic sounds, people talking, birds chirping, they just seem lower. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but LA during the Night Stalker and New York during Berkowitz just seem like horrible places to find yourself existing.
Yeah, not good times to time travel there.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
If you have a time machine, you definitely want to skip those 2 years, those two places.
Mm-hmm.
So what crimes did Richard Ramirez commit in L.A.? Well, in the beginning, Ramirez honed his skills as a car thief and a burglar. He purchased a master key set for Hondas and Toyotas, and he would spend his nights stealing cars and driving around Los Angeles looking for houses to rob. He'd find a darkened house that the streetlights didn't touch, that didn't have their porch lights on. He'd park his stolen car and quietly case the houses, peering into windows, trying to ascertain exactly who was home and where they were located in the house. He'd then enter the home, usually through an unlocked door or a window, and then he'd burglarize it while the occupants were asleep. And to me, that's the terrifying part. Having some psycho walking around your house, your most sacred place, as you and your family are fast asleep and none the wiser. Ramirez did this for about 2 years, and he became quite the skilled burglar, sometimes hitting 2 houses in a single night. But like most psychos, he suddenly upped his game. And like the original Night Stalker, Ramirez graduated from breaking and entering and burglary to breaking and entering, burglary, and murder. At the end of the day, Richard Ramirez was arrested. He was arrested for 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 6 rapes, 3 lewd acts on children, 2 kidnappings, 3 acts of forced oral copulation, 4 counts of sodomy, 5 robberies, and 14 burglaries. Put this fucking champ on a Wheaties box. Now, in case you're wondering, because I wasn't exactly sure what the difference between burglary and robbery were, burglary occurs when someone intentionally enters a place, a home in this case, without the consent of the person in lawful possession of that place and with intent to steal or commit a felony. This is definition, right? Whereas robbery occurs when someone takes property from a person or in the presence of the owner by either using force or by threatening the imminent use of force. So there is a difference. The more you know. Now, I do want to mention Richard Ramirez wasn't the leather-jacketed, pretty boy anti-hero that was portrayed in the television show American Horror Story 1984. Wasn't like that, if anyone's seen that show. This was a skinny, drugged-out, wild-haired, sunken-eyed, dead-eyed, sunken-cheek, dead-eyed, snarling asshole. And I swear to God, in one police photo taken of Ramirez, he looks like an honest-to-God demon. Listeners, check the show notes to see what I'm talking about. And just imagine encountering that thing walking around your house at night.
I think I would imagine it like in an album cover for a metal band or something.
The picture that he looks like a demon?
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, I don't. Maybe I've seen it, but I haven't seen any pictures at all. So maybe I would recognize it if I see it. But it sounds like the description sounds like a perfect album cover.
I see. Yeah,
for a death metal group.
This one photo in particular I'm referring to, I could see that for a death metal group, no doubt, because he literally looks like a demon in the flesh. It's horrifying. All right, so let's get into the murders. The Night Stalker killings took place between April 10th, 1984 and August 24th, 1985. It's believed that Ramirez's first victim was a 9-year-old girl named May or Linda Lung, as he was tied to the case by DNA in 2009, but he was never officially charged with the little girl's murder. Okay. On April 10th, 1984, little Linda was found in the basement of an apartment building where she lived in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. Ramirez is known to have stayed at 2 different hotels near Linda's apartment building. She had been raped, stabbed, and strangled, and then she was hung from a water spigot down there in the basement. Police on the scene described the killing as ritualistic, and they said that Linda was hung to look like Christ on the cross.
What the fuck?
Yeah, bad. No one knew who did this until, like I said, 2009. DNA said that it was Ramirez.
Oh, wow. That's how long it took, huh?
That's how long it took.
Wow.
So that's believed to be his first crime, although a lot of the reference material won't refer to that particular murder. Because I think a lot of the reference material were written before.
Makes sense.
The DNA.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think of something volatile, along with science and the science of deducing and there's something specific. What's it called?
I don't know.
The science that people use to saliva swabs and
DNA analysis or
no. What's that thing called? There's like when you call it in a crime scene, they come in, they do it, they call it something. There's a show about it.
CS crime scene investigators?
No, fuck.
Yeah,
fuck.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know.
It's gone. Someone's in their car yelling at it. Whatever. Sorry. Yeah. Forensic science.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, it's driving me nuts.
Forensic science. Gotcha.
Yeah, right. With forensic science, it's still evolving. It's still, and it's not just evolving. It's like, the one thing that we don't understand about forensic science, among other things, is that, they could have discovered, let's say, something simple like DNA analysis through saliva, right? Let's say they figure that out. It'll still take a long time for everyone to start implementing it. It's not like every county is implementing it the moment it's discovered.
That's a good point.
Still some today are not using it. And not because they can't afford it necessarily. Maybe that's the case. But also it could be because, that county hasn't seen a murder in 20 years. But the point is that everyone uses different things to what they have. And forensic science never catches up to everything. It's not like the second something was invented to find out if Richard Ramirez did or did not kill this 9-year-old girl. Like, someone had to be on top of that eventually.
Yeah.
But, like, it could have gone longer without being solved probably, because you got to actually do it. Someone had to be on top of that murder, like that cold case.
That's right.
Right? To request it, wait for the results, double check. So it's a process.
Absolutely.
It's just interesting to think about the science of waiting, really.
Science of waiting. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, the murder that what do I say? Most reference sites and reference material cites as Richard Ramirez's first murder happened on June 28th, 1984. On June 28th, 1984, Richard Ramirez murdered 79-year-old Jenny Vincow in her Eagle Rock apartment about 6 miles from L.A. He entered Vincow's apartment by removing a mesh screen covering an open window while she was asleep. Ramirez raped, repeatedly stabbed, and then cut Miss Vincow's throat so violently she was nearly decapitated. He then fled. On February 21st, 1985, sisters Christina and Mary Caldwell, ages 58 and 71, were found mutilated in their home in San Francisco's Telegraph Hill neighborhood. They were each stabbed dozens of times, and every surface in their home was sprayed with blood. One of the sisters was found near a window with a knife wound straight through her throat, as if the Night Stalker silenced her as she was trying to call out for help. Now, Ramirez claimed 3 victims on March 17, 1985. First, he attacked 22-year-old Marie Hernandez outside her Rosemead home, about 10 to 15 minutes outside of L.A. As Hernandez exited her vehicle, Ramirez, who had been watching her from a distance, walked up to her, pointed a gun in her face, and pulled the trigger. Now, unbelievably, Hernandez survived this ambush attack as the bullet ricocheted off a set of keys she held up to her face defensively as Ramirez shot. So she saw Ramirez, he pointed the gun at her face, and she held up her hands. In her hands were a set of keys. That fucking bullet ricocheted off those keys and saved her life.
Whoa.
Now, thinking Hernandez was dead, Ramirez then proceeded to enter her home. And that's where he shot and killed 34-year-old Dale Okazaki, Hernandez's female roommate. Within an hour of killing Okazaki, Ramirez struck again at North Alhambra Avenue in Monterey Park. There, he put his stolen vehicle in idle and then simply entered a vehicle belonging to a 30-year-old Taiwanese woman named Sai Veronica Lian Yu. Ramirez pushed the woman out of her car and onto the street, where he proceeded to shoot her multiple times at point-blank range. And then he just got back in his car and ran off. A police officer found Veronica Lian Yu still breathing, but she died before the ambulance arrived. Now, one good thing came from this March 17th attacks. Maria Hernandez. She was able to give police a description of the killer. She told them the killer was tall, gaunt, dark, and possibly Hispanic. Okay. On March 27th, 1985, Ramirez claimed the lives of Vincent Zazara, age 64, and his wife, Maxine, age 44, at their Whittier home in Southern California in Los Angeles County. Ramirez shot and killed Vincent, the husband, straight away. Maxine, however, wasn't so lucky. Ramirez stabbed and mutilated Maxine, and a large knife plunged right into her heart and through her left breast, left this ragged T-shaped wound, this massive wound.
Jesus.
Yes, and there were also stab wounds to her neck, her face, her abdomen, and her pubic area. And finally, before leaving this crime scene, Ramirez gouged out and took Maxine's eyeballs. And those eyeballs were never recovered.
Oh, my God.
Yes. This is a violent fucking dude.
Very extra.
Very extra. Now, after killing the Zazara couple on May 14th, 1985, Ramirez attacked a Chinese couple, Harold Wu, age 66, and his wife, Jean. Ramirez shot Harold in the head, then punched, kicked, and slapped Jean into submission before binding her hands behind her back with thumb screws and tossing her on top of her dying husband's body. After ransacking the house, Ramirez returned to Jean and violently raped her as she laid on top of her dying husband. And it is believed that the husband was still alive at this point. Can you just fucking imagine?
No.
Ramirez then left the house, and for whatever reason, he let Jean live. Now, what I find most strange about this case is thumb screws? Who the fuck uses thumb screws? Was Ramirez from the Middle Ages? It's so weird, man.
Yeah. Isn't that something you could just make at home?
I don't know. I don't know. But there was a medieval torture device called thumb screws. And
yeah,
I don't know. Didn't see any pictures. I didn't see any crime scene photos from this one, but
right.
Thumb screws. Very unique. Be the best you can, I guess, right?
Huh.
Next, on May 29th, 1985, Ramirez attacked Malvial Keller, age 83, and her disabled sister, Blanche Wolfe, age 80, at their home in suburban Monrovia, California, about 30 minutes outside of Los Angeles. Ramirez beat both sisters with a hammer, and he attempted to rape Keller, but he failed. And using lipstick, he drew pentagrams on Keller's thigh and on the wall in the bedroom. Now, Blanche miraculously survived the attacks. Malvial did not. Malvial had been bound at the hands and feet, beat with a hammer, and her ribs were crushed by a large table. Ramirez just flipped right on top of her. Fucking brutal, man. Now, the next day, on May 30th, 1985, Ruth Wilson, age 41, was awoken from sleep by a blinding flashlight in her eyes and a man's gruff voice saying, "Where's your money?" To emphasize his point that he wasn't there to fuck around, Ramirez shuffled Ruth into her 12-year-old son's bedroom and threatened to kill the boy if Ruth didn't turn up something expensive. And she led Ramirez to a diamond necklace, which he seemed to like. And at that, Ramirez locked the son in a closet and proceeded to bind, rape, and sodomize Ruth. She said the smell of his breath and his body odor were so overpowering it made her physically sick. And as he was brutalizing her, Ramirez made Ruth say, "I vow to Satan and I love Satan." So as he's raping her, he's making her say, "I vow to Satan, I love Satan." What a fucking horror show, man. And after he was finished, Ramirez bound mother and son together and escaped into the night. For whatever reason, again, he let this one live. On June 2nd, 1985, Ramirez shot 25-year-old Ted Wildings in the head while he slept in his apartment in the Cow Hollow section of San Francisco. Ramirez then violently raped Wildings' girlfriend, 25-year-old Nancy Brienne, and again, he let Nancy Brienne live.
Weird.
On June 27th, 1985, Ramirez killed 32-year-old Patty Higgins at her home in Arcadia, California, about 30 minutes outside of L.A. He beat Higgins nearly to death and then slit her throat and then ransacked her home. This list goes on. On July 2nd, Ramirez killed 75-year-old Mary Louise Cannon at her home, again in Arcadia. He beat her into unconsciousness with a large lamp and then slashed her throat with a 10-inch butcher knife he had found in her kitchen. On July 5th, 1985, also in Arcadia, 16-year-old Whitney Bennett was beaten with a tire iron and strangled by Ramirez, and she survived. Whitney was at home asleep along with her mother, father, and little brother. Ramirez broke into the home and beat Whitney 10 times with the tire iron and then tied a telephone cord around her neck and attempted to strangle her to death. Ramirez left her for dead. The next morning, Whitney woke up in a pool of her own blood, not knowing what the hell had happened to her the night before. She lived. July 7th, 1961. Oh my God, July 7th, 61-year-old Joyce Lucille Nelson was found bludgeoned to death with a tire iron and mutilated in her home in Monterey Park, California, about 13 minutes outside of L.A. Also on July 7th, in Monterey Park, 63-year-old Linda Fortuna was attacked in her home and robbed. Ramirez tried to rape and sodomize the poor woman, but luckily the fucking dope couldn't get it up, so he robbed the house and left Fortuna alive. On July 20th in Glendale, California, about 20 minutes outside of L.A., Richard Ramirez shot and killed husband and wife Maxon and Leah Kending, aged 66 and 64, as they slept in their beds. Ramirez then mutilated their bodies, slashing Maxon's throat so severely he was almost decapitated. Also on July 20th, 1985, in Sun Valley, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, Ramirez shot and killed 32-year-old, I'm going to mess this up, Chitat Aswanahem.
Nailed it.
Aswahem. Chitat Aswahem and his wife, 29-year-old Sakima. She was beaten, raped twice, and forced to perform oral sex on Ramirez. Sakima then had to listen in agony as Ramirez went into their 8-year-old son's room and slapped the shit out of him. Other reports say that Ramirez also brutally sodomized the little boy. Ramirez then collected valuables, about $30,000 in cash and jewelry, and then fled the home. August 5th, 1985, Richard Ramirez shot both Christopher Peterson, age 38, and his wife, Virginia, 27, in the head as they slept in bed at their Northridge, California home, about 40 minutes outside of L.A. Miraculously, they both survived, even though one of Ramirez's bullets entered Christopher's brain, and Virginia's face was destroyed by another bullet. On August 8th, still 1985, Ramirez attacked a diamond bar couple, fatally shooting Ahmed Zia, age 35, before raping, sodomizing, and forcing Zia's wife, Sue K.E., 28, to perform oral sex on him. And Diamond Bar is about 35 minutes outside of L.A. Dude, these names could be tough when you're trying to flow like this. It's tough.
Yeah, I know.
It
yeah,
is.
I
It's
mean,
Suukyi, Sue K.E.
yeah.
But fucking list still goes on. August 17th, 1985. Ramirez shot to death a 66-year-old man named Peter Pan. Don't you laugh. Listeners, don't you laugh. This is too grim to laugh. And beat and shot his wife, Barbara. Like usual, the couple was asleep in their bed at their home in Lake Merced, about 15 minutes outside of San Francisco, when the Night Stalker struck. Before Ramirez left the scene, he scrawled the phrase, "Jack the Knife," on a wall in lipstick, along with some pentagrams. On August 24th, 1985, in Mission Viejo, California, about 45 minutes from LA, a 13-year-old boy named James Romero III, unable to sleep, walked out of his house just past 1 a.m. to fetch a pillow he had left in the family camper, as the Romeros had just returned home from a camping trip earlier that day. Suddenly, James heard some shuffling and crunching sounds coming from a gravel path that led from the house's driveway all the way into the backyard. James stopped, and he waited, thinking he'd see an animal of some sort, maybe a possum or a coyote, emerge. No animal emerged. James then headed back through the garage and was going to enter the house when he heard the noise again. Only this time it was closer, and it definitely sounded like a person's footsteps. James made a break for the house, and he ran straight to his bedroom, and he looked out his window. And there he saw who was stalking him. A tall man dressed all in black, wearing a black hat, heading towards an orange Toyota wagon with a license plate that contained 482T. It was, of course, Richard Ramirez. The police were called, and James Romero gave them a description of the man, the vehicle, and the partial license plate number. Now, this is a really scary story because it's believed that Ramirez was planning on breaking into the Romero's house to do his wicked thing. Luckily, James was awake and he scared Ramirez off, thus literally saving his family from the unthinkable. Now, a short while later, still in Mission Viejo, Ramirez broke into the Mediterranean Village apartment of 29-year-old Bill Carnes and his fiancée, 27-year-old Inez Erickson. Ramirez shot Carnes in the head 3 times, and he miraculously survived. He survived 3 shots to the head.
Wow.
Ramirez then beat and raped his fiancée Inez twice. While he was raping Inez the second time, Ramirez demanded that she yell out, "I love Satan," which she did. And afterwards, he forced her to perform oral sex on him. Then he tied Inez up and left. As soon as Ramirez left, Inez was able to get to a window and see the orange Toyota station wagon Ramirez was driving. At the time, yes. And she was able to give the vehicle's description to police. Now, a few days later, the orange Toyota was found abandoned, and its license plate was actually 482RTS. James Romero III had been so close with that plate number. Now, police searched the vehicle, and they were able to recover a fingerprint off of the rearview mirror. The fingerprint was analyzed, and it was found to match Richard Ramirez, a known drifter from El Paso, Texas, with a mile-long rap sheet. Considering they had 2 separate descriptions of the vehicle, with one description coming from Inez Erickson, a victim, police knew they finally had a name for the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez.
Right.
Now, police quickly made up flyers and Ramirez pictures with Ramirez pictures on them, and the media splashed his face across television and newspapers. Millions of people were now on the lookout for the Night Stalker. It was only a matter of time until the Night Stalker would be caught. Now, on August 31st, 1985, unaware that his face was plastered all over California, this dumb shit, bitch-ass Ramirez stopped at a convenience store in East Los Angeles, East Los, to buy some candy. A woman in the convenience store recognized him, and she shouted, "That's him, El Matador," the killer, right? Ramirez took off running. He tried to carjack a woman, and then people from the neighborhood jumped into action, and they chased his stupid ass down and they mobbed him, almost killed him. A man actually bashed Ramirez over the head with a metal fence post.
Oh, wow.
The mob held Ramirez until police arrived and he was promptly arrested. The reign of the Night Stalker had come to an end. And you could actually look up video of the Night Stalker's arrest. You see this stupid little head just wrapped in all this like gauze and like medical bandage, you know, and you just see his little face. It almost looks like an alien. He honest God does. The way his head's wrapped from being beaten and bashed over the head with the fucking
right. And you can only imagine the swelling in different areas of his head, right?
Yeah, he looked really strange in the back of that police car. After the mob was done with him. And this is something actually the American Horror Story 1984 got right. Remember in the very beginning I said he didn't look like they described him in this handsome sort of anti-hero. He was really a fucking demon looking kind of guy. But this part they got right. They show this happen in American Horror Story 1984. The crowd just mobbing his ass. Now, it took years for Ramirez to go to trial. And when he did finally go to trial, he acted like a complete asshole. He drew a pentagram on his hand and flashed it to reporters, a very famous photograph, which, again, check the show notes. I have it there. He would shout out, "Hail Satan," during proceedings, like you heard in the very beginning of this episode in that news clip.
Right.
He tried to intimidate witnesses. He would stare at them and wink at them. Now, I want to stop here and clarify something. Even though Ramirez claimed to be a Satanist, all this Hail Satan shit and the pentagram on his palm, and he made his victims yell out, "I love Satan," shit like this, he never claimed that it was Satan that ordered him to kill. Instead, it seems Ramirez killed people in order to impress Satan, to get his attention, thus ensuring himself a spot at Satan's table, where, of course, Ramirez would be seated at Satan's right hand, the place of honor. It's some lunatic shit, but I thought it was interesting. Okay, that's what he thought.
Right. It's not like he wasn't on contract for a job necessarily. He was trying to get hired.
Oh, good. I love that. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Very good. On September 20th, 1989, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was convicted of 12 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 4 counts of rape, 3 counts of forcible oral copulation, 4 counts of forcible sodomy, and 14 counts of first-degree burglary.
Oh, and 6 counts of bad math.
Yeah. In answer to his conviction, Ramirez told the court, quote, "I am beyond good and evil. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells in us all. That's it." End quote. That was his message. He
said that's it?
That's it. Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that.
No. That's him. Now, so that's when he was convicted. Now, during his penalty phase on November 7th, 1989, Ramirez was sentenced to die in California's gas chamber. And after he was sentenced to death, Ramirez told reporters, quote, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland," end quote. Fucking jack off, this guy.
Yeah, he's a real class A dickhead. On top of being like a very brutal serial killer, he also has to be a fucking grade A dickhead.
Yes.
You know,
you're right.
Those are the worst. You just love to hate those kind of guys.
Yes. Now, Ramirez was remanded to San Quentin State Prison, where he spent 24 years on death row.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And while he was in prison, he got his nasty ass teeth fixed. He received tons of love letters from smitten women all over the world. And he even got married to a woman named Doreen Leoy, a freelance magazine editor. Leoy described her husband as kind, funny, charming, and her best friend. The fuck is wrong with people? And before, right?
That could be that's another topic in general. I want to explore that.
Women who love serial killers and shit.
Or men too. I'm sure there's got.
Yeah, good point. I think that would be a cool episode. You're right.
Because that's something that everyone questions, but nobody knows the answers to.
Good point. Oh, I love that idea, actually. Yeah. Well, he was married, and apparently before let me finish up here. And before California could execute the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez died from complications related to B-cell lymphoma, on July 7th, 2013, at Marion General Hospital in Green Bay, California. That's Green Bay, California. He was 53 years old when he died. Now, according to Ramirez's entry on findagrave.com, his body was cremated. And as far as I could tell, no one ever stepped forward to claim his ashes. Now, in California, cremated remains are held at the coroner's office for 3 years, waiting for the next of kin to pick them up.
Really?
If no one claimed Richard Ramirez's ashes, then his ashes would likely have been buried in an unmarked grave in a potter's field. Now, in Los Angeles, for more than a century, a public ceremony is held at the end of every year in which unclaimed remains are buried in a mass grave, while prayers for the deceased are recited in multiple languages. It's a very positive event. And I don't imagine Ramirez's remains would be part of a ceremony like this, but you never know, right? Yeah, exactly. You never know.
I mean, if it's unmarked and unclaimed, right?
Unmarked, unclaimed. Yeah, that's true. So there you have it. It's another one for the books. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, right? What I was going to say before, though, is that before he died from lymphoma, it was basically cancer, right? Apparently he was separated from his wife, and he was engaged to be married again. Didn't give the woman's name, but it said that she was a magazine writer from New York.
So magazine writers have a thing for him for his type, or he has a type for magazine, like that's his.
Well, Richard Ramirez, just like most famous serial killers, I hate to say that, but it's true. Famous serial killers, they get mail every single day, right? People want to interview him. People like this Doreen Leoy who loved them and wants to marry them, right? They get all this sick fan mail and specifically authors, magazine writers, newspaper reporters contacting them for the stories, right? So I think these magazine women, Doreen Leoy and whoever he was engaged to right before he died, they just kind of fell for him through interviewing him and talking with him, and he was a charmer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, that's the subject for a cool discussion at some point, because I definitely have a lot of speculation, a lot of it could be this, or that, as to why someone from the outside, right, the prison system, would fall for someone that's eternally going to be inside the prison system, right?
Yeah.
Eternally. And that's also that in itself can be enticing. Like the commitment level is like a low bar to your partner. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I could do anything I want to this person with absolutely no repercussions.
Yeah. I don't mean like that, but I mean the idea you it's it's not living with you. You don't have to pay bills together. You don't have to worry about what they're doing, right? Because there's prison. So there's
never getting out.
Is the same every day. He gets 1 hour outs or whatever, and weekly phone calls and shit, right?
Yeah.
It's expected. I know every Friday for the rest of my life, right? That's what they're thinking, that they're going to pick up the phone or they're going to call me, right?
Yeah.
It's something about that. Maybe that's a sense of security that some people enjoy. Anyway, but this is a really,
right?
Very brutal bastard. Reminds me of that Ripper Crew a little bit in the brutality aspect.
Oh, the Ripper Crew, that's right.
I know I say that one often, but it does remind me, the brutality of it reminds me of that and that Coral's guy.
Dean Coral.
Dean Coral.
Fucking asshole. He was another asshole.
Fucking with an asshole name, too.
Very assholey name.
Yeah. And I guess I'll leave with this strange thing that has nothing to do with the man.
Okay.
It's more of a funny thing that personal of mine is that have you been to El Paso, Jay?
I have not. I've been to Dallas, never been to El Paso.
Yeah, I've been there many times. Many, many, many times. I used to travel to Mexico by myself often, couple to 5 times a year at some point in my
remember.
life.
Yeah.
And I will go through El Paso.
What's it like?
It's a terrible town.
Dude.
Oh, man. I had the worst time. It's so boring there.
Really?
And I remember I would just walk because I would have a lot of hours between I would take a bus to El Paso and then take another bus to then, Durango or whatever. So I would have like layover time, and layover time in El Paso could be hours up to almost a day. I think,
man.
And it was just so fantastically boring in general. And I did, do some bar stuff there, and it was fine. But man, it just seemed like a very small town. It does seem like a waypost to go somewhere else. And I think it was designed to be like an outpost between Mexico and the United States in order to then get to the rest of the country, to get to Dallas and San Antonio and shit like that.
Interesting.
It feels like it's still that way, even though, I'm sure, I know it's bigger now, but it's still, felt very small to me and very like hot, and no one was around except for on the border, right? Like getting in or getting out. The cars were there for sure, but otherwise it wasn't like a lot of anything there that I saw. I don't know. It was very hot though. Every time I went there, it was super hot.
Was El Paso featured in Breaking Bad? I feel like El Paso played a part in Breaking Bad.
Well, Breaking Bad takes place in Albuquerque,
right?
Primarily, they do travel though. There's that train heist thing. I don't know where that happens though.
I feel like it played a part, and maybe the listeners know, or I'm completely misremembering.
With the cartel brothers, I want to say maybe.
Oh, maybe that was it.
Maybe they show it a bit, maybe in the background when they're crossing, because they come from Mexico and they to try to kill Walt. Right, in that season 2 or whatever, or 3.
Yeah, with Machete.
With Machete, I think. Yeah, I think maybe we got a whiff of El Paso there, but I'm not sure.
Okay. And that was one of those things that I did not know about Richard Ramirez. I thought he was born, bred, raised, and executed his crime spree in L.A. I didn't know he had this El Paso tie and this fucked up ass family. In El Paso. So that was all pretty interesting to me.
Do they relate his guy. Do they relate his lymphoma to what his mother, was sniffing in that factory while pregnant?
I didn't find any pieces of reference to that specifically, but boy, does it make sense, doesn't it?
It does a little bit.
To that or the fallout from the bomb testing, something. That sure does make some sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. His stuff in general. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else to say. I feel
it's cool. No, that's great. Yeah. So you enjoyed it? Learned a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I learned things that I don't necessarily wanted to learn. Like I wanted to learn that stuff. Like how, wow, he really didn't discriminate between children and the elderly. Yeah. But that's not a better thing.
No, you're right.
That's not, I don't know if that's for the better or not. I know that typically serial killers stick with one type, one age bracket, right? One gender, right?
Yeah.
And this guy had like a real petri dish of tastes. And I said earlier, I remember that this guy reminds me of Henry. And for those who maybe not sure, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, or whatever the name of the movie is.
You're right. Yeah, Henry. You're right. Portrait of a Serial Killer. Yes.
There's Henry as I think he's loosely based on someone real. I'm thinking now that it's based on Ramirez a little bit. It's an 80s horror movie where the serial killer, mainly out of Chicago, I think, in the movie, right? It's killing a lot of people. Actually gets like someone to go with him and kill people with him, and raping and so on and so forth. And the movie's it's a very good movie, I should say. I'm not going to spoil it.
It is a good movie. Yeah.
But one thing that the guy does, and he actually, like, the movie emphasizes, he actually talks about it. He says that he kills people in different ways, at different times of the day, different kinds of people, in order to never be caught by the police, like as a thing, like as a way to get away with it.
Yeah.
And that's when you were telling me that stuff, kind of reminded me of that.
That's interesting. That's an interesting correlation there. That's good.
Yeah.
Good movie too. And that's the thing, his victim list, yes, so widespread, men, women, children, different methods of killing, different weapons used. He would leave signs and symbols at some places and not the others. Yeah. What was really hard about putting this episode together is that victim list. I tried to find, I would have to find a name or names and dates in 3 sources in order for me to think that they're correct, because everywhere you look, it changes.
You're kidding me.
Everything changes. Names, dates, locations. So my go-to was finding 3 sources that have that person's name and date the same, or that couple's name and date, the location the same.
Right.
It all changes across everything you search and check for. It's very, very fucking difficult because his victim list was so broad. It was so long. There were foreign names. Sometimes those names were Americanized and put into news articles. Sometimes they weren't.
You're kidding me.
Sometimes they would cite the date he actually killed them. Other pieces of reference material would cite the day they were found. So the dates change. You know what I mean? Wow. Fucking horrible to put together.
It sounds like a nightmare. Yeah.
Yes. And there's even names that I didn't put into my list because I only found them in 1 or 2 sites, not 3. So I didn't even put them on the list because I can't be sure. So this was tough. This was tough.
Damn.
Chloe from California helped me with the general list of people and dates, and then I just dove in and researched
try to find them.
Yeah, try to verify and then research and add details. So anyway, sorry, I'm done rambling. Oscar, if you are finished,
I am.
Take us home, my brother. Your space, man.
Yeah. I just wish I want to ask you an adulting question. How do you find the energy to do things?
Yeah.
No, really, because
fuck if I know.
But you do it though. How do you
fuck if I know?
In the recesses of your mind, there's workers there mining for energy, right? How are they finding it?
I don't know.
What's to stop you from?
That is a fantastic question, my friend.
What's to stop you from constantly vegging out and doing things that just kill time and make you stressed up or whatever, or like I don't how it seems like. I'm not saying it's a trick or anything. I'm just being funny with your question, but
no, but I think it's a legitimate question because half the time I don't want to do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
But
there's a pile of dishes after this recording to do,
Well, see, I have weird obsessions too when it comes to clutter in the house or cleanliness of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It fucking drives me crazy. So I'll always have the energy to do that. Crazy, but you'll get a little cup of bleach and a toothbrush and get down and scrub out those grout.
Get full metal jacket on it.
That's right. That's right. I've done it before.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I can see you doing it, but you're anal about it. I wish I was anal about it. Like, I mean, to a lot of people, I probably am, compared to like most people who detest that kind of work.
Yeah.
But compared to you, I'm a lazy bag of shit.
You'll see. I bet you'll get somewhere, because you start thinking like, fuck, I'm paying for this.
Right.
I don't want to live in squalor. I'm fucking spending good money to live,
Yeah.
So you'll see. It'll kick in. Kick in. Right now,
I almost want to earn bad money so I can say I'm spending bad money on this. What's bad money?
Right now, you're in like the honeymoon phase of having your own place, getting ideas to set up your creative space. Once that wears off, it'll kick in.
Once that wears off.
You'll get there, because believe me, it will wear off.
Oh, I'm sure. It sounds ominous, but also like unavoidable, right?
Yeah. But you just find the energy, man. You just, I don't know.
I'm mining it, and I can't find the diamonds of energy that I need sometimes. Not
Believe
sometimes.
Me, I know.
Most times I do.
Sometimes I hate walking to the other end of the yard because it's like far away.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to go do that. So they got to walk all the way back.
You have to take a kilometer to fucking take out the garbage. Oh wait, no, your garbage is closer. Never mind, it's up to the front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You throw a frisbee, like fuck that noise.
Yeah, it's fine. Leave it. We'll get it next year. The lawn guys will move it. Hopefully, they'll move it closer.
When the snow melts, we'll get it. That's my other worry. My other secret big worry about not living alone. Obviously, living with Lexi, but living independently, I guess, is that I'm worried about. I don't want to develop any bad habits.
Like what?
Oh, usually they're laziness in nature. I don't want to develop them at all.
Oh, I see.
They're relating to what we're talking about, the cleaning and stuff. Mainly the cleaning, organizing as well, and keeping up. I want to develop good habits, maybe getting up earlier than I'm used to eat something or cook something more regularly, so I can perfect certain things, and that way, ideally, therefore we can spend less money in the future, right? I try in my head, I try to do it. Obviously, I know it all takes time, but logically it takes time, but emotionally it feels like, come on, hurry up already.
Right. But you recognize it, so it's a step in the right direction.
Right. No, yeah, I think I don't think I'm doing bad at it, but I'm still worried that I don't want to develop some secret, I'll wake up and oh man, I've been doing this really bad, or I keep lazing out about this one thing that I never think of, or I don't know what.
Katie said to say hello to you guys.
Oh, nice. We'll say hello back.
I will.
Kiss her on the forehead for Lexi.
Okay.
Kiss her on the left cheek for me.
You got it.
If I hear that you didn't fucking do that, Jay,
I swear to fucking God.
I swear to fucking God.
I swear to fucking God.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Christ.
I've been doing this Irish brogue thing lately, where let's say I finish something, I go done, and I make Lexi say it because I have to have someone say it with done. I'm done.
I like that.
Yeah, or when I'm swearing, I say Jesus fucking Christ. All three again in one night.
All right, you got me.
So
that's it.
It's about an abandoned hotel, not in California though. It's in New York, the state of New York.
Okay, your endorsement. I take that to heart. So I'm going to check out Hell House.
Yeah, it's found footage, but I think it's good found footage. Yeah.
Awesome, because I tell you, we're running out of shit to watch.
Yeah.
We ran out of shit to watch. I completely forgot about Cobra Kai, and it just came to Netflix. I had watched the first season. Did you ever see Cobra Kai?
I saw half of the first season years ago. Okay.
Yeah, so I forgot about it, right? It was on YouTube. You had to get YouTube Prime or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I put in my credit card. I binged it in one night, and then I canceled that membership, right? And I completely forgot about it. Well, there's a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're making a season 3. So season 1 and 2 just came to Netflix.
I heard that they bought it. Yeah.
Is that what happened? They bought it?
Yeah, because YouTube dropped it. They weren't going to make any more.
Fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, because I'm surprised they didn't. It's such a, I mean, YouTube has other shows, but I guess I don't know their numbers. Also, I'm not a YouTube fanatic like a lot of people are.
Me neither.
So maybe the numbers do reflect that better. But everyone talked about Cobra Kai way more about any of their other shows because I haven't heard about any of their other shows.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't think I know of a single one.
I couldn't tell you.
In a lineup, I couldn't tell you which one came from what YouTube channel,
Yeah.
So there's that. And also, that happens. That happened with The Expanse, right? Sci-Fi dropped it, even though it was getting so many numbers. It's like their best show, and they dropped it. And then so Amazon picked it up. So it's like that. It's like a different channel bought the rights or whatever to extend the seasons. So that's good, I guess, for Cobra Kai fans. I liked it too. And I'll get to it eventually, but I'm not in a rush. I didn't think it was amazing, but it is watchable. It is bingeable.
See,
I'll say that.
Were you a Karate Kid fan growing up or anything like that?
Marginal. I knew the movie. I saw it. I'm positive I enjoyed it as a kid.
Yeah.
But never, it wasn't that Vengeance Babysitting for me. Like that movie was the one I saw about 1,000 times.
I see.
Back to the Future is the one I saw 1,000 times. The Mask, but not Karate Kid, not so many times.
Gotcha. See, I loved it growing up, but the way they meld the two worlds, from the 80s to 2000s, it's fantastic. All the throwbacks, the characters, the locations.
Mm-hmm.
It's I love it. I just love Cobra Kai. So we're 2 episodes into season 2 now, and
I showed Alexi my cousin Vinny, and it has Ralph Macchio in it. Right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, he's one of the killers. Well, supposed killers, right?
Right.
I think he's Pesci's nephew or cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. My cousin Vinny. Yeah.
Right. It's his fucking nephew, right? His third nephew, twice removed.
That's such a. I love that movie to death. I love it to death. Love it. Yeah, I can. I quote it all the time. Every time someone glows about something that I find like stupid, like let's say, gloat about something that something that you're good at that no one cares about.
I'm not good at anything. Fuck. I'm gonna hit 100% a quarter my first month back because I'm that good of a salesperson.
Oh, so you're good of a salesperson. How's your Chinese food?
How's your Chinese food?
So in the opening, when they get to the town, Joe Pesci and what's her face?
Marissa Tomei.
Thank you, Marissa Tomei.
My biological clock is going like this.
Right. And anyway, they're talking about mud in the tires, and the guy who lives there, he's like the townie. He's like, "Yeah, you got mud in the tires. Yeah, we famous for our mud." And she goes, "You're famous for your mud? How's your Chinese food?"
Almost got wine out of my nose.
Because when she first gets there, her first line is like, she's like taking pictures of the town, of the shitty town, and she's like, I bet the Chinese food is terrible. And so she says that, and it's just the perfect line. So I just say that to emphasize how much this shit means nothing to me.
Yeah, how's your Chinese food? She's so sexy in that movie too. Holy shit.
Insanely. Yeah. Insanely. I also quote, I shot the clerk all the time, and Lexi hears me all the time say that. When having an argument or like we were play bickering back and forth or something, I was like, I shot the clerk. Like she's playing with like, I shot the clerk. I didn't shoot the clerk. And no one has any idea what I'm talking about.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no one. My brother and you, I guess, are the only 2 people who would know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Nice.